beautiful.
It works. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
yay. I'm excited for today.
Tell
I'm
me.
excited just to be myself. Very excited just to be myself. I bought a coffee.
Yeah.
Oh, this
Coffee.
my goodness.
That's right. This was I'm like, you can't take a coffee. And I'm like, of course you can. And I'm like, remember, you're bringing your whole self, Bianca. So I bought a coffee. And I'm just
very nice.
up some paints, which is very nice. Yay. And how's your week been, Eliza? Or Kim, or anyone who wants to contribute?
Weird, quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been outside a lot. And today, well, of course you can, but it's cold.
Yeah.
So last week was about 20 Celsius, which is warm for the time of year here.
Mm.
And now we're back to 8, 9, 10.
We swapped because we had that 8, 9, 10 last week, and we've had like 20. Although it was yesterday. Yeah. We had a nice sunny day today. You've got a jumper on, which is unusual. You've got your beautiful jumper on.
I do. I have my new, my finished jumper.
Beautiful.
It's good. It's cold today. Well, coldish. Cold enough to wear it.
Beautiful.
So that's good.
Yay. I also have my finished project. I haven't put soles on yet, but my fleece to slippers project for the week.
Very good.
Oh.
Just aware of this bit of light stream.
Oh yes, you've got a beam.
Yes.
That's all right.
Is that bothering anyone?
No.
No.
Good. Okay.
It's one of the fun parts of this time in our life, I think. Since, well, things are different. And we have to make do with what is. And also, like you said, Bianca, it's showing up as us.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've been thinking a lot about that after claiming that I'd removed all my masks, or having convinced myself that I had. So I'd been doing a lot of processing about that, had a little chuckle to myself. I'm like, ha ha ha, what makes you think that? So I've been investigating I knew that I had to call that out because I'd done all the work that I had done that I could see. And I knew there had to be more, but I couldn't see it until I could call it out in some way. So that was nice and uncomfortable and good and uncomfortable. And I got to see different parts. I'm like, really? And even tonight when I went, I think I want a coffee. And I'm like, you can't take a coffee. I'm like, you're doing it again. And it's that role that I was just having that discussion with someone in terms of, you know, being seen as a healer and then having to put on this face for people, because some people don't like it if their healer is a real person and has their own foibles. And yet it's so important for people, for everyone to realize that they have that aspect of that healer in them, and they have that aspect of, we all have aspect anyway. So I've been working on self-integration. That's been my theme of the week.
Yeah, and you're not the healer anyway.
No.
We are a catalyst for a person to choose healing.
Yes, and that's really nice to point out, because I actually actively refuse to heal anybody, much to some people's displeasure. you can lead someone to see an opening, or see a potential, or to make a choice, because ultimately if healing is done to someone, there is no healing. Or even worse, perhaps it's like the opportunity for learning or growth has been taken away.
It is like drinking coffee when you're on a Zoom, or taking a mask off. It's the person in him or herself and has to choose to take the mask off. We cannot do that for them.
Yeah.
It wouldn't even be kind.
No.
Like, we're all going through our own stuff, and some is really uncomfortable. I get it, and same here. And this is my process, and it shows up when it shows up and how it shows up, and I can choose to talk to anybody about it and ask to use a tool of their toolbox. But still, I am the one. I compare it to eating lunch. I can prepare your lunch, I can cook it, I can do grocery shopping, I can prepare it, I can put it right in front of you. I can even feed you if I need to, but you're the one that has to swallow your lunch and make shit out of it. When I first learned about hands-on healing, of course, I was the superior bitch for a while, running around with my magic hands. That doesn't work that way.
No.
It's part of the journey though, isn't it? Yeah. And coming to realize that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's also part of it.
I was musing over whether I would do introductions again, because I had to cut the introduction off the other video because of our visitor. And I was like, oh my goodness. I was writing, I became habulous because of a spiritual awakening and shamanic calling. And I wrote 25 years ago. I'm like, was it real? I had to count, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it really was 25 years ago. Then I was thinking back to how eager I was to tell the world about, like, the world is not this boring, plain thing. I had to tell everyone, run around, tell everyone. Did you know? I was thinking back to how I was quite relieved that Facebook didn't exist when I was going through that. Because I wanted to shout it to the world. Oh my gosh, I've discovered the most amazing thing that I'm positive has never been discovered in the world before ever. Because if it had been discovered, why on earth is not everyone talking about it? Yeah. Which leads me thinking back to our thing about, so I don't talk about it these days because it's just normal to me. Yeah, I feel like it's like opening up, it's like we just open up this little space to make talking about it normal, and how different that create, what a different awareness and reality of the children growing up it creates. So if all those little magical experiences that we had when we were a child, or that weren't like put in this, or say put in the Santa category, because I feel like children have this magical view of the world, and then the only things magical that we talk about are the Easter Bunny and Santa Claus, and then we tell them, oh, sorry, oh, that. And then so that whole, it's like that, as that happens, that whole reality just crumbles and gets put into a, oh, so you mean that whole thing doesn't exist? Like all of those things? Because the other things aren't talked about. So by opening up and pushing into that, pushing some space in there, I guess. I'm just thinking out loud and just thinking how much of a change that simple change will make. Certainly would have led to a much less rambunctious adolescence on my behalf. Because I know that what I was searching for, I'm like, well, then the only way that I understand for those things to exist then must be drugs. Mm. So I spent all of this time exploring, searching for this elusive experience, this connection with this light that I knew existed within my body, but I didn't know it existed in any other way apart from, the only thing my culture told me where it came from was from drugs. So it took me a long time searching in a lot of those boxes. Oh, it's not that one, not that one, not that one, not there, oh, not there, not there, until finally I managed to find the right boxes. It would be a lot easier if it was not so hidden, elusive, dare I say it? Yeah.
And yet, opening up all those boxes, finding out what's inside, finding out that's not the one, isn't that also part of who you are now? Would it have been different?
Yeah. It made me very rebellious, and it made me very... Well, I certainly wasn't going to question any mainstream offering of truth that was ever served to me without understanding and feeling that truth. So I guess it helped me become a very strong in my own embodiment of truth when I see it or when I feel it, or when I don't. Yeah. Mm. I had a lovely dream the other day. What about you? Do you have any lovely dreams over the week?
Who are you asking?
I don't know, the general. Yeah. I've got you all sitting there in front of me. So if I'll look at the general.
Open question, right?
Yeah.
I can't recall. I know I've been dreaming, but can't recall what I've been dreaming about. But I have been thinking a lot about my childhood, which kind of ties into what you were saying. And now the things I find that I do that make me feel calm and connected are the things that I would intuitively do as a child, which is really interesting. It's like going through all this long journey to come back to where I was when I was 6.
And, I'm so happy that you said 6, because 6 is always the place, unless I'll say it always, but there is a caveat. Very occasionally it's not 6, but I always take people back to 6 when they're hunting for the string, that is their joy, that is that thing. There is something about that happens at 6 that gives you the, it's like, yeah, anyway, it's like gives you the keys to pick up that string to follow, to start to follow, that leads you to your joy, your self, your, it must be something about incarnating fully enough of yourself. And it's what you'll start to find joy with at 6.
Yeah.
Is a massive key. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Six in the next few years of playing in the garden, weaving nests with lavender. I plaited this nest and left it in the, doing that stuff.
Yeah.
And collecting crystals at that age too. And, yeah. Yes. And the outside stuff was confusing, but the inside stuff was not. The inside stuff was very, outside meaning society, not nature. Yeah. Friendships, that was confusing. Navigating social structures, that was confusing. Yeah. Interesting. Still is. Yes, but that comes back, that inner sense, that inner world is all still there, and that coming back to having that faith in that and that trust in that.
When I say I had a dream, it's not like a dream, but a journey dream. I woke up and I was fully in the root mycelial light grid, and I was just in there, and I could feel the points of light that were the trees, and then the different the space that wasn't. So, and just that web of light, and stretching into that was really was altering my sense of being and the way that I exist, the consciousness on a really deep level. That was very lovely. It was very, very nice. Just sitting there. And I guess I have, it just slowed everything down so much. So I've had a very slow week. I haven't left the house again all week. I went on Monday. Actually, I went on Monday to pick up our school care package, our correspondence kit, which was nice. But it's been really nice to just be so slow. And today I got to a point of relaxation. I sat on the couch with a pile of books, and I used to delight. I'm like, oh, there's something, I'm going to play with some knowledge that's in there, or just be. I haven't done that since I've become a mother. I have not had the headspace to be able to be that relaxed. Yes, for the last 8 and a bit years. So that was just delightful to get to that. It's taken 4 weeks of just slowly winding down and slowly disconnecting all of these obligations that have just pulled me in so many different directions that I didn't realize was pulling me out of my center. I loved all of them, but I didn't realize that they were really pulling me out of my center. So I've been questioning all of that. So I've had to just unhook everything just to come right back to me, and I just have to sit that for quite some, till whenever, to work out what it is that I can pick up. And the only thing that I've been allowed to pick up was this, with the very strict directive that I come 100% as me. So I must admit, I've been quite excited that it's been slow. I was like, because if I would have gone to my old patterns, if there was lots of people suddenly that I was supposed to be talking to, I'm not quite sure I could have bought 100% me right now. So I'm just practicing. I won't say learning, I'm practicing, remaining 100% in me.
With coffee.
With coffee, yeah. There is something, because I have been a naturopath for over 15 years, and I don't do it so much anymore. I really don't do it at all anymore. But a lot of that time I would lecture people on how the coffee was bad. If you've got a highly strung nervous system, then coffee's doing blah, 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 blah. It's just like when I finished studying my herbal medicine and naturopathy, I couldn't eat or do anything because every single thing you did in the world is bad for you in some way. So I had no joy in doing anything. And I'm like, oh, it's like the placebo effect times 100. There's a thing called medical student syndrome, where every time you study a condition, you actually develop the physical symptoms of the condition. It's very well known, and I had it very intently. But so not only did I have every ailment in the world, every single thing you did is poisonous or dangerous to you in one way. And so it's a really long journey to unlearn all of that stuff to be able to hold knowledge in a way where you can hold it in balance. So part of me bringing my coffee is very much embodying that, and I've actually drank quite a lot of coffee over this lockdown period, and I will say that it really hasn't had any effect on my nervous system at all. And I can have more coffee one day and then less the next, and I haven't had a migraine. And usually if I change my caffeine intake at all, it's guaranteed to give me a migraine. The only thing that will give me a migraine, but it will give me a migraine, and it hasn't.
So that's interesting to explore as well, huh?
Yeah, our belief.
And then again, what if you didn't tell us what is inside that cup?
I know you'd all be imagining it being a beautiful herbal tea picked from my garden.
Red wine.
But I like what you're saying about the migraines and the coffee. It reminds me of, when was it, about 20 years ago? All of a sudden you could buy decaf coffee.
Yeah.
And it was around here, it was a hype, and you had to drink decaf because the bad things in real coffee, right? And of course I was there as well, learning the world outside was different than what I had learned up till then. And so, yes, I was the hyped up person, not being able to withstand a normal cup of coffee, until there's this, wait a minute, I have drank coffee for many years, no problem. Now there's this decaf coffee on the market, and all of a sudden I am at the effect of a normal cup of coffee. Really? And that made me think about what is going on here. And I think it's the first time I was aware of being at the effect of outside information.
Yeah.
Like the programming that's going on with marketing, with TV.
Yes. It's like
what we are told to believe, and we believe, and so now all of a sudden we can't have a normal coffee. Like when I was young, people had hair in their armpits.
Good, yeah.
Be of the hairy armpit brigade.
Yeah. So what happened? Because now you're like a very sick person if you don't
Yeah,
shave.
I miss the no hair memo.
Yeah. But in general, what we see now in the world
Yeah.
is you can't have hair anywhere except on your head.
Oh. Yeah, you can't even have eyebrows. Well, no, back to eyebrows. They disappear, they come back. It's like,
So all the outside, yeah, let's call it programming.
and it's
Like the no hair started in porn.
yeah.
Like really? What has happened to from having hair where God put it or whoever did that evolution to working against nature, working against your own body?
Yeah.
And if it's as simple as a shave, what else has happened?
Yeah. I am having to laugh. I have to share. So many years ago, we were at a music festival, and a friend of my older sister was with us. We were quite young, and she picked up this young boy and took him back to her tent. And he absolutely freaked out because he'd never seen pubic hair before. Didn't know it existed. And I'm like, what? It's like, surely he must have been at least 20. I'm like, how do you get to 20? Just like, okay, yeah, well, I guess there'll be a lot of people in for a bit of a shock. Round about now, as these lockdowns ease gently, but maybe not so much so that our waxing salons can open up. Yeah.
Well, but it is one thing that this lockdown period does for me, is becoming even more aware of all the, well, in my book it's bullshit. The waxing salons, and forever who's watching this later, please do if you need to. And where else are we living outside of our own center? And for me, finding out more about what is truly important to me. What do I require to have in me and in my home and in my life in order to be just me and happy? And it has nothing to do with any brand of whatever. And yeah, it's made me think a lot about how people in general, and it's not up to me to have a judgment about that, but how I perceive my life and looking at what is truth, what is the definition of truth, and maybe that's not important, what is true for me right now. No, it's an interesting experience.
Yeah.
And it boils down to, what do I really require? It's a home, enough food, the ability to shower and or shave. Just the simple things. And all the rest is a bonus, a choice. And is it necessary? For some, yes. Is it necessary for me? Well, not right now, and that could change. Maybe. No. It's interesting.
Mm. Yeah, it's interesting how many things we think we've needed to fit into our life, or things that we think we've needed to do in order to be fulfilled, happy, something. That constant, I said to Sky, it was last night, maybe the night before, I was like, this is the first time that since I moved into this house, that I've actually felt at home in this house. Because ever since we moved in, I had to work really hard on the energy and really hard on certain things, and there were certain things that really bugged me about it. So I was always thinking about moving, even though it was never the right time to move, but my energy was never actually fully right where I am. I was never going to fully invest myself here, because I knew that I didn't want to actually have to stay here. So I've lived here for 8 years. I mean, how much wasted energy and wasted time for not actually going, this is where I am right now. It's like when I turned this room into my art studio on top of my weaving loom, because I was like, had been going, oh, I don't have enough space. I was always dreaming about this art studio I was building in the backyard, and then I made it, and it was perfect and was great. And I was just like, how long have I wasted wishing to be somewhere else, somewhere other than the life that I was in? And it's so nice to get into the life that you're actually in.
So how did you do that, do you think?
Just by stopping, by removing the potential of being anywhere else. So suddenly being anywhere else wasn't an option. It's not like I was going to be going to look to move right now. So I may as well do all the things that I can do right now. And I wasn't going to build something right now, or there was all these future potentialities that were taken away. And I love potential, I love but it's exhausting when the potential is open-ended. And so I was thinking about that the other day. Like I don't like finishing things. I think it might have been Lisa that was talking about something about finishing. I don't like finishing, because once something's finished, the potential is removed. It's like it's now over. So it now has no potential to move or morph into something else. That's like door closed. There's a potential for something else to start, but that thing is not going to go in any other way. So even right back to when I was at art school, I would hate finishing an artwork, because once it was finished, then then it became static. And I love the dance of getting somewhere. So for me, that has been a joyful thing, to explore how something can evolve. But I didn't realize just how exhausting it was by continually exploring on all of these multi-dimensional levels, the exploration of evolution, and never actually just being satisfied with where I have evolved to. It's like reaping the rewards from that work that has been done, rather than just constantly doing all of this work. So there's that. And also my grandmother has been very present. And so she came from a very long line of bohemian mamas, right? They just like cook and handcraft and make good family, yeah? And so that's what I've been doing. I've made so much bread. I've become a sourdough master, and I can tell you that no one actually has any problems with gluten in this house either, which I would have thought that I told you that there was a lot, but there's none. So yes, I'm like, man, I could just have the best restaurant in town. We've had Lebanese cheese pies and pizza and amazing sourdoughs, and I've made lemon curd several times. Lemon curd and shortbread biscuit. Anyway, I have embedded myself in that. I have stopped trying to find the space outside of being with my children and planted myself firmly into the role of mother. And I have not yelled at the children all week. Yeah. Oh, apart from, maybe a little bit, but I haven't got exasperated, nor felt the need to desperately claim space for myself. So it's interesting.
And it sounds too like you're acknowledging and valuing the resources you have available to you right now.
Yeah, and being incredibly grateful for them, and going, how have I been missing or bypassing all of the beauty and the wonder that is available to me right now? And how much of our life do we actually miss because we constantly do that? We're constantly wishing to be somewhere else. Meanwhile, our whole life just whisks past. Yeah. So it's been good. I am feeling a calling, though, to go into the fabric between. So I haven't been there for quite some time. So the between worlds that for me, being creative opens up and holds that space into the space between. So the only way I can say it, it's like, I used to call it the other world. I might call it the dreaming. It opens the space into that, the fabric that exists between the fabric of our lives. And that's a hard space to dive into with children around. But yeah, it's always there. While you were talking before, Eliza, I'm not sure how it triggered, but I was taken to a memory of a sacred site that I went to with a friend. So it was a women's space, sacred women's space. And it was, a highway had been built right next to it. There was this big monolithic rock and sacred space. And a highway had been built past it, like 15 meters away. And it had obviously been the place where it was on the outskirts of a town. And it was obviously the place where the teenage kids went to drink. And it had been completely trashed and completely covered in graffiti. And the graffiti on these rocks was so thick. In some places it was like 2 inches thick, like spray cans, like so thick. But we stepped, and so we were really like mortified because we'd driven quite a long way to get there. We'd found out because we were going to all these places and we're like, this is men's place, this is men's place. So we were asking around, like, where is the women's place of this area? And so we'd found out from some, like, it was quite a convoluted process to actually even find out. And then we got there and we were just like mortified. And we stepped back and this huge rock, was just an enormous vagina. And in giant, bright blood red graffiti written across the front of this rock was cunts, which was just so awesome. It was just like, even like, so the energy of the place was still completely alive, completely like there, like it was unable to be suppressed. Like even in these drunken, I dare say, boys, like in this place, I'm sure they had no clue what they were doing, like quite blatantly labeling the place women's place. It was so fabulous. I was like at that, I was like, it's a really pivotal point in my understanding of the world. Like, even though we feel like so much of everything is destroyed and so much of everything is lost, it's like, it's not, it's all just right there if we just, and even when we don't, but maybe because they were drunk, they were in some other space, so that that energy was coming through and affecting them more. But if we just allow ourselves to settle, to quiet, to sink in, like, all that magic is right there. It's just right there. And I have noticed the nature spirits coming back to my garden, like as I spend more time and put more love into my garden, the energy and the presence of the nature spirits and the way in which the trees are communicating with each other, and is just like, it's just this dynamic change. It's so exciting. It's so exciting. Yeah.
I've been thinking about that as well, noticing changes. And I keep wondering, like, well, things that show up are new to me. And so what is that? Is it something new? Or has it been always? And the only thing new is me being willing or able to notice. And if so, how is my understanding of history? And I'm not willing to look back to the start of the creation. But let's just say the past 100 years, since that is what my mind can comprehend. Like all those, well, let's keep it to nature spirits. Have they always been there? Is it even true that we sequestered them to some cave in the mountain? Or have they always been there and we as a society simply have put them outside of our awareness, outside of our willingness to perceive, receive, cooperate, co-create? There's so much information, new to me information flowing through my world, and it's not all of it is fun and roses. There's a lot of unlovely things coming into my awareness lately.
Yeah. I was just painting a rose when you said fun and roses.
Of course.
But yeah, that the dark, like coming up into our awareness, so that our light can dissipate that.
Yeah.
I didn't want to stop you talking there about your awarenesses.
Yeah. Well, it really has me questioning just about everything in my life. Like lots of things that I thought to be true, believed to be true, have been told to be true. Like many systems in our society works nowadays, and some systems that have been in place for ages, literally ages. And now there's new information coming in, and how to find a space for that in my perception of life. And my first choice would be those dark things don't deserve a place in my life. And yet, if I place them outside my awareness, again, like it was last year, it's being said that what you pay attention to grows. So maybe I shouldn't pay attention to what's going on. If it doesn't get attention, it won't grow. But yet, without my attention, it has been growing for a long time.
Yeah.
So that didn't work.
Yeah.
And what is truth in systems? In the foundation of how society seems to function? And the foundation is shaking anyway. Let's just box it down to the bug that's going. Foundations are shaking.
Yeah.
And it's a good thing. Is it? Or is that just my opinion? What is good? What is bad? What is dark? What is light? Do I even require a foundation? And if so, now that everything is shaking, what would I like my foundation to be like if I have a choice? Okay, and then it could be my choice for my personal world. Does that affect anyone else's? And who am I to impose my desired foundation onto whoever I speak to? And so there's a lot of questions with no definite answer right now. And I keep going back to where am I in all of this? Who am I in all of this? Like, who's here? Who's here? Who's here? What's that? How does that work? And who am I to impose my vision in your thoughts? And who am I not to? Yeah, it's interesting. And all I know is I don't know.
Yeah. I have been pondering similar things in slightly different ways. The thing that I've been really pondering is the are we actually in striving to, I'll go out and call out that my pondering on the wording for the global mass meditation, and just put it out there because it's something that I have been pondering for a while. So if source splits into, so if the way if my understanding of how we are in existence is correct from all understandings of many spiritual texts, that we are source, mind, experiencing itself as a duality, how we have dark and light. And if that dark and light is on a band that is a polarity, are we not by striving to be on the most positive end, actually creating the darkness to, if it has to be a polarity for it to be like that, they have to be equal. So, and I had a really interesting, and I couldn't understand, I couldn't get my low, like this mental plane mind around how that could be. And I had a little epiphany the other day when I was thinking about someone who was refusing to be in lockdown because they didn't believe that there was any issue. They didn't want to have their spiritual freedoms impinged upon. And I went, oh, if people act like that, that's when they're going to bring in martial law and take away everyone's freedoms completely. And I went, oh, not saying that they're going to do that. I didn't want to put that out there, but I was like, suddenly had this awareness of how striving for the light can create the dark. And I had this realization that that is just a little micro example of how that happens. Then coming back to center, so coming back to being in the center of that polarity so you can actually rise up, so that you're not on the pendulum, so that the pendulum stops, so that a vibration can rise. Means that you can observe that darkness but not react to it. And by observing it and holding it in your awareness, but having no reaction to it, stops that pendulum or lessens it. Because I don't think, not that I'm speaking to your level of spiritual like enlightenment, Eliza, but when you see that dark, it's pretty hard not to have any reaction to it. But if we minimize our reaction to it and hold our center whilst still becoming aware of that, and not letting the awareness of that change us from where our truth is, then it stops. Because if we go, oh, there's that, so I'm going to go from there to over here, and then we're not in our center anymore. Then we've been shifted from our center and we have no power because we forgot what we were doing. What were we doing before we got distracted by that? Oh, I have no idea. I'm just fighting that battle, their battle. I'm giving them all my energy.
And with that, maintain the fighting, the war energies. And me being me, one of my desires would be the end of fight.
Yeah.
And now I'm fighting against something that I have decided I don't like.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yes, I'm human. I have those moments.
Yeah, I think that. It comes like if you bring it into an inner space, it's like if you see some part of some aspect of yourself that you really don't like, to respond to that, to create the opposite is just, it's creating that pull.
And for me, in my personal life, I'm very happy to say that the dark spots are not as dark as some of the new information.
Yeah.
And it cannot change for me unless I first fully acknowledge it is what it is now. And then consider, what do I have available now that would allow an opening for that to start to change. And if it's how it works for me in my personal world. And then looking on a broader scale, would it be the same? Would it be required to observe and acknowledge it is what it is now? I have opinions, yes, and it is what it is now. So would it be helpful if I start looking at my opinions about things, remove or neutralize those as a start? And would that create an opening of a start of a change? And again, who am I to, oh, that's dark, I don't like it, I'll turn up my light, you have to leave. If there is a creator that created creation once upon a time, a long time ago, if that is true, then that's, let's call it highest consciousness for now. Wouldn't it be true that everything that is now has been created by the highest intelligence that created creation, including that what we call very dark? And if it is true that we are the adventure of a lifetime inside the highest intelligence that created creation, we are playing just one timeline in the totality of all of it. Would it be as equally true for the other things that we have opinions about? Simply another thread in another timeline in the adventure of a lifetime of the totality. And if that's so, how come I can't let it be what it is? And again, who am I to want to change things? And on a different level, who am I to look away and not have an effort, at least an effort to change things?
Mm. Mm.
Body reacts.
Yeah, the entire time you were talking then, I was like wanting just to cry. Like even before you started saying anything, I'm like, Eliza's not even saying anything that would remotely want to, like, if you start crying now. But yeah, I got the emotion on that one. Yeah, I did say we were going to cry. Sorry, on the intro, didn't I? Not on this intro, but on our thing. Oh, it's good.
It's interesting how I'm not sad. I don't feel sadness. And yet the tears are real and the grief is real.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
And the grief or the emotion is in my belly right now. But from the chest up, it's as light, as happy as it was.
Yeah. I have a blood red page of tears, a page of blood red tears all over my page here, and a rose, and yeah, some stuff. But yeah.
And what is this need, the want to understand and explain all of it?
Because it that keeps you safe in your own little head space and not in the being space.
And yet I am claiming many moments I want to be the being, what is including of and beyond being in this cluster of molecules this lifetime.
Yeah.
And if that is so, why do I notice resistance to tears flowing when I ponder about something?
Because in order to fully get into that space between, like to go beyond, to really go beyond that cluster of molecules into all of it, you have to let go of that mind, and that mind will make all sorts of decoy, pseudo, like trick you to think that you're not actually in it, that you are embodying yourself. It's like it's constant going within into that self. And in those layers there's all those bits of emotion that are sitting, that we've stuck there. And so the closer you pop down into being, it's like, oh, there's that release of that emotion that was stored there from that lifetime or that experience or that stuff. So every time you're popping down closer into that authentic beingness, there's that layer that releases. And why have we taught ourselves that that's an uncomfortable thing to maybe share? Because I don't know that we're necessarily uncomfortable about going there, but it's uncomfortable about sharing.
Well, that's going back to age 6.
Again.
You're old enough to not cry now. You have learned to ride your bike. If you had been more careful, you would not have fallen, so you have no right to cry. It seemed logic at the time.
Yeah.
Not to me, but that's what I was taught.
Yeah.
With no bad intentions, I'm sure. But not feeling allowed to be what I am or to feel what I feel in a second. The mold of how big girls behave. And later on, the mold of how well-behaved girls behave. And me finding very hard to put all of me inside that mold. Which, what I'm learning now, I put the mold there. believing that what I was told was true. And that is what's going on in life right now. Believing that I was told was true, and now, without even choosing it, finding evidence that maybe what I was told wasn't all of that's true, or totally not true, or partly true. And what was I told, and where did I believe it? Whew. And if all of that is true, partly, then what should I believe? And what is the right thing to believe in? And who am I to decide what is the right thing to believe in the first place? Which leads for me to the question, not how to go forward. I chose to go forward. And where to go forward.
There was so much magic around the where to go forward. That lit up all sorts of magic bubbles in my mind.
Yes, and it brings me to what you told about art school and finishing a project. The totality of possibilities that is there when it's not finished. And the overwhelm of the totality of possibilities.
Yeah.
Which direction to go?
Where to put the ball? Which shoot to put your ball down?
Yeah, it doesn't. Well, where am I at today? It doesn't matter where I choose to go, because the possibilities are infinite. I could go left, right, backward, forward, up and down. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Choose a direction and go there. For me.
And yet choosing actually doesn't limit the possibilities, because it's not by choosing to step here that all of those beautiful, like I've got this beautiful vision of you with these beautiful roots growing out into all the multiverse in all different directions, feeling into, and you can move your consciousness into any one of them to have that experience. But even when you're not moving your consciousness, you're perceiving it in the background of your experience, all of those things. And by taking 2 steps this way in Earth world, or 2 kilometers or wherever, is not actually changing that connection. So actually the path that you choose has
Today,
very little bearing on your overall soul experience of being connected into that thing. Even though from your earth here little perception, it might be massively different, from an overall soul level experience, it doesn't really make any difference at all.
it doesn't matter.
No, it actually doesn't matter at all. And yet we put so much weight. We cripple ourselves with indecision, that these decisions that are actually inconsequential matter. So the only thing that matters is making a decision that brings you joy, because that is your immediate experience. It's actually not changing the larger soul experience. It's because once it's like, the elephant's not actually worried, like can't really feel the ant that it steps on and the ant's pain. But to the ant, that experience, like if the ant and the elephant were the same being, the elephant's not really concerned about what happened to the ant, but to the ant, it's massive. But we believe that every tiny little decision that we make is affecting our elephant terribly. But the elephant actually really is not particularly consciously aware of us. Which kind of makes it a bit more free. Like if we didn't feel like we had this like huge burden to make our soul evolution correct, we just go, fuck, let's just have some fun and drink some coffee at 9 o'clock at night. Oh, well, thanks for letting me have that little epiphany. Didn't ever see that way before, so that's nice. It really, like, the only reason it matters is so that you can experience joy right now. And it feeds back up. But it's like the learning, okay, so the learning happens either way. So you could have the same learning experiencing pain or experiencing joy and lightness. It's like you've got this lesson A. I don't know. What can I use as an example? The thing that's coming to my mind is the 2 times tables, because that's what we've been doing with my daughter. But okay, so you need to learn your 2 times tables. So you could learn them having an absolute ball, or you could learn them thinking it's the worst thing in the world. Either way, you're going to learn your 2 times tables, and it actually doesn't matter how you learn it, because that's that level of reality tick.
I made a song out of it. My talents will be more in words than in numbers. And I know now when I have to do some math things, I still sing the song.
Yeah. So what I'm seeing at the moment is the only thing that's set out for us, the only thing that's predetermined is the lessons that we need to learn in this lifetime. We get to choose how we learn those lessons and how we experience them. It doesn't matter whether we experience it from just here or just here, or even over there. It's reminding me of a very funny experience that I had. I've been with my husband for a very long time, 25 plus years. Anyway, before I decided, when I was in year 12, I was going to go to art school, and I was absolutely agonizing over the fact of whether I would choose to go to Melbourne or Canberra. I got into both prestigious art schools in both cities. And I kind of wanted to go to Canberra because I kind of liked the course a little bit more, but I wanted to go to Melbourne because Melbourne was more fun and the art school was more prestigious, and maybe I should. Anyway, I ended up going to Melbourne and meeting my partner and getting stuck in this really intense relationship that was really, really heavy. And like for a long time, I'm like, oh, I should have just chosen to go to Canberra because then I would never meet you. Even though I love him, but I was just stuck in this, oh my gosh, this is just so hard. Like how? And we'd broken up, and I met this guy, and we kind of had this little thing. And then I found out he went to the art school that I would have gone to, and he was like the exact same energy of my partner. And I'm like, oh, what? You mean I would have been in this same fucking situation had I gone to Canberra anyway? It's just so, it was like this sliding doors moment. I'm like, well, there was no escaping this. This was your journey, whether you did it with this incarnation of this archetype or this incarnation of this archetype. It was pretty funny. I must say that I have a beautiful relationship with my husband now, but fuck, it was hard. And there was many times I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Good Lord. And many of my friends were like, and my parents were like, what the fuck are you doing? Good Lord. You're out of this crazy relationship. And now I feel so incredibly blessed. And it's taught me so much. And it's like sometimes it's just hard. Like sometimes our learning is hard, but maybe I just made it hard because I was in this crippling myself with this idea that I had to think about things in certain ways and I had to make it right and I had to. That was all very internal though, because on the surface level, I was so rebellious and I was like throwing all the rules to the side, but still in my own little rules, I had my own little rules that I was binging on myself so tightly that I could hardly move. Whilst convincing myself that I was completely free and expressing my every aspect. And in parts of me I was, but there was parts of me that I had really trapped. Yeah. So what if the only thing that matters is the joy in our connection and our communication and our interaction, and how much love we can actually create in each moment with our interactions with each other, with other beings around us, with the plants and the animals and the nature spirits and all the sentient beings that come into our space. And
I'm interrupting you now.
yeah,
We've been going on for over an hour.
no, we're only going to stop at an hour. We're going to stop at an hour.
Well, kind of more or less, but it's been pretty intense up till now this time. And for those that don't know us or new to this and find this someplace else, I think this is enough for one session.
Yes. Well, you know, we can share just as snippets of it. We don't have to divulge all. We can just do a little bit of cut and paste or just share little bits, but something about finding that joy in that space.
There we are again in the wordless smile. We do that a lot.
Part of the joy.
Yeah. And also, I forgot to divulge when we said that we were going to have a conversation, is that you will always find me sitting around the fire at the end of the night talking until 3 o'clock in the morning. So yes, you will have to rein me in when you get me talking. Unless you set me to a strict script. It's like, you'll have to give me notes. You're like, Bianca, here, you're allowed to talk about this, this, and this. And then
That doesn't work for me.
it has been intense. It's interesting how I wasn't expecting intense. I haven't felt intense. So
It wasn't for me. I am getting used to having intense nights with many dreams or awarenesses or flying around in other dimensions. I'm not sure what earth words fit best. And this morning there was nothing, or at least not the usual intensities that are mostly there. And I looked out of the window and it was just a box of blue inside the frame of the window. It's just blue. And I even wrote about it in my journal, like this nothingness or spaciousness that is so different than up till now. And I'm still spacious, even though I had coffee and I've been talking to you over an hour now. There is this part of me that's so omnipresent that I have to pull myself more inside here to have this conversation.
I
The
know.
other side of me is so spacious. There's so much more space.
Yeah, I can see you out all over the entire, yes, multiverses, as I was saying. Yeah. It's very nice. Because it's not like it's yeah, it's a very lovely. So should we do a little bit of homework for I'm just sitting here listening into that silence, and maybe we can share for next week about what we've listened into, what we've received in those. It's like there's all these little noises coming through that, and it's like these little dials tuning. Tuning to those frequencies that help us to receive on those quieter levels.
Wow, thank you. So how is that for you, Kim?
Have a lot to process, I think, from that. Yeah, really interesting. And my body, I kind of feel like I've been meditating in that kind of sitting in that space and coming out of that now, which is nice. Yeah, I'm curious to see how I sleep tonight.
Like, I like the way you shook your head in. It was very like, it's like, yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Really interesting to hear you speak, Eliza, and then see, Bianca, you're firing off that sharing.
Oh, there was a good fire tonight. Yeah. It's like, yeah.
And I'm quite tired today or tonight. I went for a big walk this afternoon. So I'm quite happy to just sit and then listen and ponder as you share and relate also. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So would it be a good time to stop the recording and just go sit with this in our own way?
Yeah, sounds great.
How's that for you, Bianca?
Yeah. Interesting. I feel very calm now. I was just watching the evolution of my painting that has been happening down here.
Will you share it?
Potentially, although I did swear across it as I was remembering Sister Rock.
Well, you've said it.
Yeah, I know. I didn't have any problem sharing it, did I? I'm feeling a little more quiet and introspective now. Got my verbose sharing. See, maybe if we were having these discussions when I had been having actual conversations with people, it wouldn't necessarily be so I'm wearing red, I'm painting red, I'm clearly feeling a little passionate.
Yes.
Because I'm never overly passionate.
Oh. No.
Usually such a lady of decorum. It's interesting.
Here she goes again.
I was like, no, sorry, I've got to go.
Well, we have our homework.
We do.
We have our little task. Yep.
Yes, indeed. I do love that silence that we can create. It's very nice. Very good.
It is what started all of this.
I know, it is, isn't it?
Okay, I see Kim needs some movement.
I do.
I need breakfast.
I've had coffee envy. You've both been drinking, having coffee. Maybe I'll see what I bring next week.
So much love to you, beautiful ladies.
And to
Always
you.
fun.
Mwah.
Thank you. Until next week.
See you.
Otro keer.